Hey guys, welcome back. Today I want to take a little bit of time to share some tips regarding the new talent system that just opened up, which I know the majority of you probably already got a chance to play around with and to see what it's all about. But as I mentioned in the Discord message, this is certainly one of the more important systems in the game, and I'm glad it's open. To be honest, it's almost a little bit overdue. It came a little bit late, but I think we still got time to catch up and make the most out of it. As you can see, I got a pretty healthy bump in BP because of this, and I'm sure all of us will be able to do the same. But before we go into the specific system, maybe just a couple broad strokes about other updates. So along with the talent system, what you'll see is that new items have popped up in the in-game store, right? I think the most important one being in the tournament tab. You have talent chests, both in the sort of the rudimentary and the intermediate level, and the sigil chest. And I would say prioritize these three things at all costs. As you can see, I do have quite a bit of coins saved up because the only thing I've ever bought was this exquisite base. The others I don't really have a use for, and even after a while, once all of my figurines have this base equipped, I don't even need to buy this. But from now on, I would say everyone to try to prioritize buying all of these. If you don't if you still have coins left after this, I would even save it over to spend on stuff like, unless you're maining Subterranean King, obviously, but on the other stuff, given they're also available in other tabs, as you can see. And but for tournament, for example, these are the most important ones. A couple other changes, as we'll see, is that we have a new material supplies tab. Well, I guess some new items, and then you do have sigil as well as the specific coins available for purchase. To be honest, I would shy away from buying these just because, even though it says, oh, it's guaranteed to get one damage sigil, in practice, there's no way in knowing whether you're getting, let's say, a sword, or you're getting, one of the worst ones. So in that case, I don't think I would be buying these, but obviously feel free if you have more gems to spare. And also, very importantly, maybe not on this page exactly, but I think from this point, vitality has officially become even more important than stamina. It has always been more expensive than stamina because, as you remember, the purchases of stamina ranges from 25 and then to 50, then to 100 gems. But for vitality, it's like a jump from 35 to 65 to 95. Depends on obviously your spending level and your gem count, but I would say starting this point, I would encourage you, the majority of us probably don't need to spend too much on stamina anymore. I think buying to 90 gems, as I did just now, is an absolute maximum. I think it's completely fine if you buy until 25 or 50. Meanwhile, for vitality, actually, I think it's very, very important that you at the very least get that 35 gem attempt, and if you can afford it, that 65 gem attempt as well, given this is literally the only resource we can use to improve the talent system of each of our characters. I don't think they've launched any specific packs about the talent yet, but I expect they will do it very, very soon. All right, so before we enough talking, let's dive into the character talent page. And as mentioned before, really what we're recommending is that you don't open this system for too many characters at once, right? Because whoever got it open essentially will drop their talent points in the trial, and unless it's all of the characters that you really want to focus on. For now, I think the majority of us will have much better bet focusing on one hero and probably one villain character, one on each side, because as you can recall, the trial is by each side, right? There's a hero trial and there's a villain trial. So all we gotta do is make sure that if there's a sort of a task or like a daily task, we just focus on one for each. So like what makes this system so powerful, right? Starting with a simple stat boost, literally some of these items are increasing attack, increasing health, increasing defense, maybe less so. But these are, super, super high improvements for the BP and obviously for these key stats. At the same time, you actually also have really crucial traits, I would say, things like healing, and I mean, especially this one, Boss Slayer. As you can see, you can imagine how good something like this fits for a PvE character, right? Because it deals bonus damage equals to 16 attack, right? That's almost, imagine like having this to, let's say, level 3, you almost literally have an extra gangster set on, right? So just by spending the points on these different items by itself is powerful enough. But even more so are the sigils, or these little icons that you can put specific sort of badges into. Just to illustrate how powerful can one single one of these sigils be. Let's say I have a level 4 vitality sigil, which increases HP by 20k and attack by 1k. If I equip that, that literally gave me 20k BP, which is as good, if not better, than any other gear I have, right? And just to see, you can actually have up to 1, 2, 3, and 6 sigils with this guy, right? So imagine if you have all of them open up and you can put, the important badges in them. It increases the character's power tremendously, right? But importantly enough, so as you can see in the bottom, there are different conditions on which you can open these, right? So level 1 is pretty much guaranteed. If I click this button, level 1 would appear. Level 2 would appear after you spend sufficient amount of points in the level 1, and also I believe if you level break them to 4-star. And level 3 only unlocks if you level 3 is limit break to 4 stars. So it could only be unlocked if you break them to 4 stars. And that you have unlocked all 3 the sigils before, right? So 1, 2, 3. And the reason why unlocking these is important is because, the reason why they require them is because this require Ascension card, right? And this is probably arguably one of the most important resources in the game, because as you know, like enhancing gear, enhancing character, and now for this sigil, all requires this Ascension card. So definitely save up if you haven't already. The one note that I would have though is that I know in older servers, let's say if you did put, because having this sigil available for my king, for example, indicates I've invested this amount of cards into it, right? In older servers, there come a point in which you can actually revert these sigils, because as you know, every character will eventually go out of style and not be used, so you want to have those cards back. However, at the moment, I'm actually not seeing that option appear, so I would be even a little bit more extra careful in opening these sigils, or these sigil sort of spacing holders, just so that what if they come with the reverse system 2 months later, and then you happen to not use the character in that time span, right? But other than that, I think the one thing to know is that the ones that are in sort of this shape, they are essentially for damage type of sigils, and the ones in sort of 8-side shape, they would for the defensive type of sigils. Maybe just specifically about the sigil itself, I think the only thing, the best things to remember is always vitality, right, for the defensive ones, because it's most straightforward, it adds HP. At the same time, as you can see here, once you up to level 4, you actually increase his attack, which is doesn't make any sense, but that's it. And similarly, for the attacking ones, unless you're someone really specific, let's say you're someone who really does DOT, someone who really does injury, then maybe you can apply these. But for the most part, it's the sword that really dominate. And actually, if you have a level 4 sigil, which come from 3 level 3s, right, sympathized together, it actually increases HP too as a substat. So, you know, as you can imagine, these things scale up pretty rapidly. So, you know, maybe just also a little bit on the spending points part, right? As you can see, what essentially you'll get through each trial is that, you know, maybe I'll just illustrate one really quickly right now, is that it will drop the lowest, let's say, or sorry, the highest level of sigil that's the possible. So if someone opened level 3, the sort of the third layer, it could drop purple, but if not, it would not drop purple, right? At the same time, it will prioritize in dropping, or it's possible to drop lower tier these talent points if that stage hasn't been maxed up yet. So what do I mean by that? As you can see, it is possible that if I put any character through this, it might drop, you know, talent number 3, talent number 2, and talent number 1, which correspond to each of the 3 different levels. However, as you can imagine, I would certainly want to have more points on the level 3 level, right? Because some of the most powerful buffs, including this perseverance, which is essentially unyielding for King, and you know, this is like, you know, incredibly OP. I definitely want to get there as soon as possible. The way you do that, however, is that you actually accumulate a set number of points for each floor, so that, you know, once it reaches a maximum, it stops dropping points of that level. So from my testing, I actually found out that to cap the first level, you want about 1.5k points stored, not spent, right? And then for level 2, it's about 2,000 actually. So what it essentially says right now, if I send my current king into a character trial, it is possible to drop level 3, but also level 2, given that I literally haven't maxed out the points system here. It's a little bit bizarre, and, you know, given that it just, I don't know why they put it in there, but just keep that in mind if you really want to prioritize getting someone as powerful as King, who has this little bit of buff in the higher tier, so that, you know, you want to prioritize dropping the purple points as much as possible. But, you know, as you can see here, if I do, let's say, let's say do 1 clear, right? So in this case, this, I believe, is the blue, so 2nd level. And okay, it is also possible to drop purple, right? But I can do however many times there, and it wouldn't drop green because I have maxed out that floor. So this is essentially what it's about. You also saw that I actually had applied this or activated this boost card, which you can pause, importantly, so don't spend it all the way. It just increases the drop of each character trial. Supposedly, we're supposed to get them from drops of spending Saitama Intel. However, I think there's probably a bug that they're dropping right now. So as I mentioned earlier, if you really want to, you could buy them from the store just for this one time only, right? Because this lasts 30 minutes, and then probably good to go for you for quite a while. You know, I think given that they have introduced the sweep system in this already, and if you buy one of the I think monthly cards, you get 99 sweeps. So it really doesn't matter, you know, what is the specific composition you put up out there, as long as, you know, you have the character you want to gain points for. However, if there ever came a time in which that sweep might not work that well, or let's say for a similar mode in the future, you have to do manual battle, or at least you have to play every single battle, use consecutive battles, right? Rather than just, you know, doing it by hand yourself, because for some reason, the game actually accelerates when it's put into consecutive battles. Obviously, for our case, sweep is instant, so we don't have to worry about that. So yeah, that's about it. And I think in general, from a spending point perspective, I would prioritize into getting to the next floor as soon as possible, right? Because I've maxed out these, so I couldn't tell. But the same number of points spent on later stages are much more effective and efficient. At the same time, do not go just maxing out every single possible item up there. As I, down a little bit, because as you can see, beyond was necessary, but because for King, for example, or for many characters, these items are useless, right? So stop wasting time or energy on these, or for example, like these ones, where it only applies to character trial, talent trial, or some daily stuff. I think this is the sort of the PvE stuff. But I would always prioritize in spending points on the crucial ones, the attack, the health, maybe the healing buff, if your character can use it, and so on and so forth. So that's about it. And the way to acquire these sigils really, which is the biggest boost for these, the couple of things beyond the mall we mentioned, you can also purchase from a tournament store, which isn't open, but during the weekly shops, you actually have a chance to use that to also redeem some sigil points. And also importantly, if you go to home activities, which essentially means if you have someone with sort of an exclamation mark on their head, you can click them and then there's a dialogue. It's also possible you drop it from there. So those are some of the possible ways you can do it. This is only an overview of the talent system, and I think, again, just to recap, make sure to focus talents on the most used characters in your team and most important ones. If you don't have most of the ones I listed, do Beast King, My Mask, Boros. These PvE characters live way longer than any of the PvP characters. Second of all, prioritize in the crucial items, and as long as you max them out, is move on to the next stage as soon as possible, right? And you do that by accumulating enough number of points here to stop the drop for this level. So 1.5k on level 1, 2k on level 2, and I don't think there's an upper limit, or if so, I never reach it on level 3. And be careful in opening the talent sigils for someone you're not sure you're gonna use, because as the moment, we don't know or when it could be reverted and we can get our resources back. And I think this officially, again, marks the time in which vitality becomes one of the most important resources in the game. And I would spend absolutely zero vitality starting today on Conqueror Challenge and on Natural Disaster. As you can see, I literally left through all 3 chances unused so far, just because it's much more useful to spend on talents. All right, so probably gonna be a longer video again, but I'm hoping to address most of the good points. Let me know if you have questions as always, and good luck hunting, and hopefully all of ours gets a lot of swords and a lot of vitality sigils. All right, see you next time.